Hi, toTheSuffolkRam here from Nerds. Welcome to my review of Doctor Who Series 11, Episode 10, The Battle of Ranskoor of Kolos. And there may be some minor spoilers ahead, so if anything spoiled, please turn off now. So we're back to another Chris Chibnall episode this week, kicking off with one of his favourite things where we have two characters having a conversation. Very cryptically, we have no idea what they're talking about, but it's clear it's going to be playing an important part in the episode later on. And these two characters, shortly after this conversation, one of them starts, for lack of a better term, starts earthbending and creating something out of rocks, and then stops because something appears mysteriously behind them. We then pop to the Doctor's gang and then TARDIS, and they detect a number of distress calls coming from this planet, and they land there and they find themselves on a ship. And this planet's a bit weird because it's got these strange sort of psychic ability where it sort of interferes and sort of damages people's minds and so forth, and they have to basically find out what's going on. It's a book ending type episode. It's sort of where the series it definitely ties a lot of things that we learned from episodes 1 and 2 of this new series, and it book ends the series as a whole. It's a very how can I put it the best way? It doesn't feel very much like a normal Doctor Who episode. It feels quite early on. It feels very low key as a finale. It doesn't seem like there's anything particularly dramatic going to happen. It's not until right towards the end that something really sort of kicks off. That the true sort of what's going on. I mean, they find on the spaceship this guy there who has no memory of really what's going on because of the planets, and they sort of help him out, and they eventually find this strange object. And you're wondering what this object is for, what's it doing there, where it ties in later on. It builds up jeopardy quite late on. There is a couple of returning characters, but I won't say who they are, or I don't want to spoil it. And that's why I say it bookends the series, and it's definitely, you can see Chris Chibnall's trying to start creating perhaps a bit of a sort of new sort of continuity, new canon for the series. They're sort of adding some extra bits in there that's sort of like his stuff. And the episode does end on a very open ending where you can see there could be more coming ahead. The episode itself reminds me a lot, and I find this a lot of this series, that the episodes remind me of an older Doctor Who serial. I mean, that's happened quite common in all previous series, but this series especially is like, oh, that's basically like this previous episode, this previous serial. And this one reminds me heavily of Tom Baker's serial, The Pirate Planet. And if you've watched that one, that may give you a clue as about what could end up happening. So I won't say any more about what The Pirate Planet's about in case you haven't seen it. It's also an episode where we get to sort of see the sort of continuing character development of Ryan and Graham starts to come to a head, as it were. Which is not unexpected. The way it's been building up all through the season finally has come to a head, although it's not been progressed really. But we'll discuss a bit more on charactership. I have to say, Christian has not been great writing this series so far, but I actually really quite like this episode. I felt it was a nice. The way it ended the series off wasn't super bang explosions, wow, everything. It was a little bit more, a bit more low key and a bit more personal. And I quite like that. So I quite enjoyed this episode. And yeah, it wasn't a big shouty finale to the series that we're kind of used to, but it was nice. It was a nice way to end it. So yeah, I actually quite enjoyed this episode. So on to the characters. Also, as I mentioned earlier, Graham and Ryan's relationship comes to a bit of a head in this episode. It's been building all season, and it's been building a bit haphazardly. It doesn't feel like a gradual development of the relationship. Obviously, very early on, Ryan, as we see Graham, his grandfather, of course, he's his step-grandfather, Ryan doesn't see him as such, and the whole series has been them two. It's been very much watching them two sort of develop and build and work off each other and actually form this relationship, but it's felt a bit haphazard throughout the series. It feels like it feels very hit and miss a little bit. There's some callbacks to early episodes and series, like some things they do and how they interact. There's some callbacks to that, and it does feel a bit not very well developed in their relationship, but it actually I think works. Actually, is nice for it to have come to a head. It wasn't unexpected, and it came in such a way that I was not totally surprised by. I think we all sort of knew it was going to end up that way, but it finally got there. So yeah, they were good. Other characters in it, so not many are side characters in this. The main two, the first two we saw me early on is, I want to read their names up here, is Delph and Andinio. So Delph's played by Prancity Ascot and Andinio's Phyllis Logan, and they play sort of aliens that have like strange religions and strange abilities. And they both they for some reason Delph when he plays it, I don't know why, he makes me think of I felt I was watching when I was watching these two interact, the way they behave and sort of thing, I felt I was watching Stargate, and sort of the way some of the characters and sort of when they go to the planets in Stargate and how they encounter the locals, particularly sort of all the more primitive planets they go to. It certainly felt like the way acting was, and the way they sort of behaved, felt very similar to that. But they actually portrayed it quite nicely. I like their portrayal of the characters, and they sort of, it came across as, particularly Andrea's portrayal, I was quite light. I thought that worked quite well. The other character is Mark Addy, playing Paltraki, who's playing the captain of the ship that they initially end up on and find. Mark Addy, who for a long time I couldn't remember where I'd seen him before, and then I find him, and it finally twigged that he is played by Mark Addy, who played what was in Game of Thrones. And so it's interesting seeing. I knew I saw him from somewhere. That's why I suddenly tweeted, "Oh, I know who you're from." It's like moment. It took me a while to figure out that was him. But he does a very sad job playing as captain. The character he's done. I mean, he's playing sort of the captain who's a sensible captain. Too often, I think we tend to get very caricatures in these series, and his character is actually quite sensible. He's captain of a ship. Often in other areas, the captain is always portrayed as a bit gun ho, a bit aggressive and so forth, and not a bit caricature. This one, he's played a lot more sensibly. And when I say a lot more about Christian episodes, the characters do tend to be a bit more sensible. And he plays a quite good captain. There are other characters there which I won't spoil. I won't say who they are because I don't want to spoil the episode. So I want to skip past them and move into production. So it's a very pretty looking episode in its own way. This sort of rough way. I mean, the planet they're on, with the, there's basically been a battle at some point, as the name suggests, and sort of the desolate landscapes of the planet and the ships. It looks really neat. And when they go into a later building, it's very atmospheric. Right, so we get some returning creatures from early on in the series. I don't really want to spoil what those are, so I'm going to leave that at that. One thing which is sort of writing-wise I found a bit weird, they make early on the idea that this planet is sort of psychic abilities that can attack people unwary, and that I found was fairly underused. It was used sort of almost like throwaway. It sort of implied that it was there to do stuff, but actual fact it's quite underused throughout the whole episode. So yeah, I found that a little bit weird, if I'm honest. And I felt they could have used more of that, or it felt like it was just put in just for the sake of putting it in. But you know, it's a very pretty episode, and the sort of big ship later on looks quite good. There's some slightly more shaky CGI in it. Right towards the end, which again I don't really want to spoil too much, but overall it's pretty good. I thought it was a good production. So final thoughts, is this a good way to end the series? It's certainly a different way to end the series. It's not a disappointing end to the series. I mean, at no point I didn't feel like I was watching a finale episode. I felt like I was watching a standard run episode. This could quite easily have been any of the normal episodes throughout the entire run. It didn't feel like I was getting to a conclusion. Probably because it's sort of, when it finishes, it's just the status quo. There's no real sort of big, world-changing event at the end, which we've always had on previous episodes. Something dramatic's happened, you know, and there's been a big event that's changed things. Either companions left, or someone's been injured, or something like that's happened. This hasn't happened in this episode. It's a lot more subtle. It's a lot more standard. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, and I don't think it's a bad ending to the series. It's just not a dramatic. I'm trying to remember if we've ever had a end of a series which has only been a single parter, and I can't remember if we have. I don't believe so. I might be forgetting something, but it's always been, I've always seen them as 2 parts, so having it as a single part finale feels very different. So yeah, and I do also feel that the episode, the sort of way the plot hooks on is usually I'm used to it being threaded throughout all the seasons. Moffat was very good at that. Rusty Davis was very common, but he's a bit more over the head, whereas Moffat was a bit more, I won't say subtle, but sometimes too subtle and sometimes made it too complicated. This is a far more, oh, we're just going to finish it off type thing. It's just a callback and they're not really sort of following it through. So, yeah, overall I found it I think it's an interesting and good enough ending for the series so far. So I'm toTheSuffolkRam, thank you much for watching. If you enjoy this, please subscribe to the channel. I look forward to seeing you on New Year's Day to record the next episode. So until then, see you later.